Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to Poetry Thursday. This is a little BookTube event where we read poetry. Some of us do. We read poetry, and at least one of us, yours truly, comments on poetry along the way, since I can't read my own name without offering commentary. And I am working my way through one anthology, this thing, 20th Century American Poetry, which is, the title is also the definition of where I would go last if I were picking a poem to read. But I thought I would grapple with this problem directly, so instead of jumping around in this thing and going to a rogues gallery of worst, I am just reading it straight through. And I'm dragging you along with me. And we are well and truly well along in this book. And we are up to a poet whose veneration, inclusion in anthologies like this, is a mystery to me. It's Theodore Roethke, and I have never understood why he is anthologized. I've never understood why he is hailed or applauded or ever was. He was a horrible person, fractious, dismissive, most of all, probably worst of all, dumb, just a dumb person. But he also wasn't talented as a poet at all, and yet he is considered major. He has a dozen poems in this anthology. No idea why. We're going to read just one. It's typically viewed as a signpost of how edgy and controversial he can be, but also how brilliant he is. It's neither. It's called My Papa's Waltz. That's from 1948. And I should warn you ahead of time to put your saccharin filter on, because this gets pretty deep. It's not a long poem, though, thankfully. The whiskey on your breath could make a small boy dizzy, but I hung on like death. Such waltzing was not easy. Dizzy and easy. We're off to a roaring start. We romped until the pans slid from the kitchen shelf. My mother's countenance could not unfrown itself. If you thought that dizzy and easy was bad, well, here you've got pans and countenance. The hand that held my wrist was battered to one knuckle. At every step you missed, my right ear scraped a buckle. You beat time on my head with a palm caked hard by dirt, then waltzed me off to bed, still clinging to your shirt. And that poem gets talked about a lot because people think that it commemorates a father. I mean, we romped until the dishes rattled means the kids are being rambunctious and the mother is all exasperated. The father, who has whiskey on his breath, takes the child in hand, literally, and it seems to imply maybe a little corporal punishment. Corporal punishment is what we used to call it when I was a child. Now it's a death sentence. It's you get hauled before the Hague. But once upon a time it was called corporal punishment, which was that if a little kid was acting up, the mother would scold the kid and the father would hit the kid. I don't think that either one of those approaches works all that well, but that's what people say that this poem, that is my father's waltz. That's the waltz that we're doing, is that he's dragging me and I'm banging against him and my head is as high as the buckle of his pants, so I'm scraping against his buckle every time he does it, with the implication of more violence than just that. And it might be there in the poem. My response to it has always been, who cares? It's just so bad. It's just such a bad poem. It's, first of all, if it's about memory, if it's just a bittersweet reflection on youth, on vanished youth. Well, we've seen plenty of those in Poetry Thursday. If it's that, then the stupid Hallmark sing-songy rhythm it misserves it completely. It is just an amateur decision to make as a poet. Not necessarily to capture the sentimentality of those kinds of memories, but to capture them in this rhythm. It's just an amateurish mistake. And if the poem is actually meant to depict something darker than that, well, then the mistake is compounded. It gets worse. So I'm afraid I don't have much to say about this figure. I've never understood what to do with this figure. Never understood why he is so ubiquitous in anthologies. Believe me, the talent level does not increase with other poems. I could pick a dozen of them that are in this book. So we're gonna we're going to wrap up Poetry Thursday for this week with a disappointment. Fortunately, next week is anything but a disappointment, so we'll be gaining some ground then. So I'll wrap this up for now, and I will see you then. Thank you, BookTube.